Hello and welcome to the Coon Hunting University podcast. This is your host, Tyler Duncan, and like always, class is in session. Coon Hunting University is presented by Extreme Dog Fuel. Feed it for life. Find out more at extremedogfuel.com. And Superior Hunting Lights. Superior, step up to the max. Use the 5% discount code CHU podcast at checkout on nighthunters.com. Hey, y'all. So, kind of before we get started today, I'm not sure if everybody's aware or not. I've had a couple questions about this, but Coon Hunting University does have merchandise available. It's on audiohoundproducts.com. And if you're interested in that, you can find that link in the description box below. I don't really advertise it a whole lot. You know, if you're new to listen to the podcast, because I know we've had a ton of new listeners here lately, but I hadn't mentioned it in probably 10 episodes. But yeah, I do sell merchandise or, you know, drop ship, whatever you want to call it. But that link to the website is in the description box below. So if you want to go check that out and buy something, I'd appreciate it. Another thing I want to talk about is that we have the raffle currently ongoing for a brand new Superior Hellcat Max, and all proceeds from that go to the Mississippi State PKC Youth Hunt. If you want to support that, and it's a great cause, please hit me up. I accept PayPal, Cash App, all of it. You know, I mean, and if you plan on coming to the hunt's going to be March 4th and 5th. March 5th is going to be the full fun day. It's awesome. It's going to be great. I mean, I encourage everyone to come. I really hope to see a lot of y'all there. Coon Hunting University will be set up. We're going to interview some of the kids. It's going to be great. It's going to be an awesome time. So if y'all want to, come on out, talk to us. Man, we'd love to have you there. And if you have a youth to bring them, please. So me and Mr. Wimp Aron recorded an episode about 2 weeks prior to us recording the episode that you're about to listen to. And we did it via phone call, and the audio turned out not very good because one of us didn't have good reception or whatever. And if you don't have good reception, it doesn't turn out. And it was, you know, broken up. You couldn't understand it. But that turned out to kind of be a blessing because Mr. Mark Sumrall, who's from Laurel, I want to give him a shout out. Thank you for hooking this up and lining us up and, you know, riding with us up there. He rode with me and Mr. Eddie, and it was just a great time. We had a ball, man. Mr. Wimp has like every coon hunting magazine from like the 60s to today. Like, it is crazy the amount of stuff that he has in there. And if you want to see some of the stuff, I put it on the Coon Hunting University Facebook page. Some pictures on there of when we went, and he's got Skuna River Lipper, Bark, you know, the Queen, all their collars are still hanging up there. It's really cool and really nostalgic. It's great. But and we're going to talk about all that in the interview. It's me and Mr. Eddie's conducting this interview, but you'll hear Mr. Mark Sumrall drop in a little bit, you know, from the background. We recorded this in the shop, or in he calls this coon dog study. You'll hear some kind of anomalies with the audio sometimes. One of the mics fell, and I couldn't get it unrecorded, and then there's a creaking chair, you know, and it's a lot different. Like when I'm sitting here recording right here, I'm in a completely controlled environment. I control this environment. You know, no outside influence is being influenced on this mic. Well, when you go to somebody's house like that and you do an interview, it's a little different because you're at the mercy of where you're at. So I hope that y'all can look past that and understand the content that's presented here and Mr. Wimp's story. And we just scratched the surface of the whole Skuna River line and how it came about. It's really great. And you're going to hear him talk about all the dogs that, you know, you've heard about through the years of Bark, Skuna River Lipper, Queen 1 to Queen 16, you know, and we have some good laughs. And Mr. Eddie and Mr. Wimp been knowing each other forever. And of course, Mr. Mark and, you know, Mr. Wimp, they're kind of partners on a bunch of dogs. You know, and I'd say, you know, they're more than partners. I mean, I'm sure that Mark he does think of Mr. Wimp as a mentor of his. So you get a real personable experience from this interview, and I really hope that y'all enjoy it because I sure enjoyed doing it. Without further ado, Mr. Wimp Aron being interviewed by me and Mr. Eddie Simmons. Y'all sit back and enjoy. So we're sitting here in Mr. Wimp's study, right? And it just has all kind of memorabilia. We've been riding us around in Skuna River Bottoms, me, Mr. Eddie Simmons, and Mr. Mark Sumrall, all of us. It's just been an outstanding day and getting to visit with you and everything. So we're gonna I'm going to go ahead and start this off. Mr. Wimp, please tell the people that listen to this a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Winston Aron. I am 88-year-old and I've coon hunted all my life. I was game warden in my younger years. So some people preferred to call us possum policemen. And I've had walker dogs since the 50s. Cecil Wilson, a friend of mine over at Fulton, I worked with him. He put me in the walker dogs, and we scuffle with dogs that come from here and there, cubs that come from the north and different ones, and Cecil. I finally settled on single registered dogs that Cecil bred until 1960, and I brought two females, one out of Deep River Mike and one out of Old Sailor Boy. And the one out of Old Sailor Boy wound up being Skuna River Queen 1. And I kind of went from there, outcrossed some, and family bred a lot. Till the dogs we got today, we hunting the 16th generation of them now, that each one of them's other than some other. The dogs of today don't have as good a masters as the ones younger did, but I know they look better, and most of them act a little better, I think, than they did in younger years.
So, how'd you get your start into coon hunting?
None of my family ever hunted. I don't think there's a member of my family nowhere that ever hunted anything. But I had a little dog or two around the house that I'd run rabbits with around the orchard and around the fields, and I really liked that. And I run a coon in a hole and caught it one time with them, and I liked that a bunch, and so I wound up getting me a pair of $5 hounds, and I went from there. 47, I had a little old spotted dog. It might have something to do with me liking walkers, so I had a little spotted dog that was I caught 4 coons with, and I still have a foot off each one of them coons because they were really valuable at that time. I had a gentleman to drive 15 miles in a wagon to breed to my dog because I had caught 4 coons with him. And so coons were scarce, and I was raised on the upper end of Skuna, and they were really scarce up there.
Yeah, and as we're sitting here today, in your study, I see the feet from them 4 coons still in here. That's crazy. It really is. So there's another article up here that I want you to talk about a little bit, and this kind of explains I guess you've always been kind of a trainer of animals. Talk about the mules and the squirrel dog story.
We farmed, and we had a tractor and mules, and I usually worked the mules because I had the mules trained where they would, with any kind of equipment that you didn't need to follow, like a harrow and a disc, they would do it on their own. They would turn and go back and do it on their own, and I could squirrel hunt around the fields and stuff while they were plowing, and so I preferred the mules for that reason.
And they wrote an article about that.
Yeah, you've seen it over there.
Sitting right over there. That's awesome, ain't it? Mr. Eddie's been telling me that story since I've been talking about interviewing you. He said, you got to ask him about the mules. Well,
it's been a long time ago.
Yeah. Do you still hunt to this day?
I hunt most nights. I hunt most nights. I don't walk like I used to. I road hunt and dog striking. I got a dog that strikes my truck, and dogs that let them run the road in the national forest where there's no traffic, and do most of my hunting that way. And if they're too far, well, I happen to come on. We go get one close. I get him, but I make over half the trees most nights.
That's awesome. That really is. And kind of go all the way back to the beginning. You were talking about Queen 1 being out of Sailor Boy. How did the Skuna River line come about, and where'd the name come from?
Well, I was raised on the head of Skuna River, and which was on the creek of any size in our neighborhood, and most people hung something on the front of them, and I think Cecil probably suggested that I do that. He'd hunted over here a lot, and I think he probably suggested that I use Skuna River. And my first registered dog, he single registered it for me. I didn't know how, so he single registered it for me. And if I remember correctly, she was born in, I believe, 43. And we registered her, I believe, in 47. I have her papers here anyway. And that was my first registered dog that he had. And we raised pups out of her and kind of went from there. Then I bred, I had a female called Ann in early days that was Cecil Wilson bred. She was pretty nice, Jim. And really the reason I really settled on females, I had a nice male back in the 50s, and I got to looking for a nice Walker female to breed him to, and there were no Walker female in this country to tree a coon at that time. And I decided to get females, and I could breed to anything I wanted to then. So that's kind of what put me on the female. I've never owned but about 3 or 4, probably 4 females that I hunted. Skuna River Lipper, Bark, Repeat, and a dog mate the favorite I called Sarge. I hunted him, so that's about the only 4 males that I ever hunted.
So it all started with Queen 1, right?
Then the Queen 1's the first that I hunted in competition, and she was, I'd had to put her on the top of the list. She was as nice as I've ever had. She was, if you looked at her picture, she could drink out of a Coke bottle, and the coldest nose hound I ever seen.
Could drink out of a Coke bottle. Huh?
Oh yeah. She didn't have that head and ears that everybody looked for, but she had a lot more stuff. You
think she was full-blooded Walker for sure?
I bought her. Bill Austin, Carlisle, Indiana. I have no reason to believe she wasn't, but I have no reason to know. From there on, well, I could swear to them, but from her back, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you're at 16 generations today.
Yeah, we got the 16th generation. Mark's got 2 or 3 of them, and I got one of them out there.
You were talking about having that dog single registered. What was that? 47? You said.
I believe if you hold up.
Do you remember? You remember how much it cost to have a dog registered back in?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I don't remember that, but it must not have cost much.
Pretty good.
Or she wouldn't have been so arrested.
Coon Hunting University is brought to you by Superior Light Company. Use coupon code CHU Podcast at checkout at nighthunters.com. Superior, step up to the max. Now back to the show. All right, Machete, you got a question you'd like to ask him?
Well, I want to say something first. What a good day to be here with friends and Mr. Wimp Aron. We've went to where Mr. Wimp was born and raised. We've seen some of those fields he's talked about. He's plowed. We've talked about the woods that he's hunted in since he was a boy till he still hunts there today. It's been an awesome day. But, Mr. Wimp, what I want to ask you is how do you decide, once you had Queen 1, which female was you going to pick to be 2? Then when she had puppies, how did you decide who was going to be 3? Because this is a continuing loop of females. I mean, so how did you pick which was going to be your next queen?
Well, with Queen 1, she was fired up little female. And back at that time, hunters didn't tolerate dogs doing anything on the tree. They had to be angels at the tree. And I bred her to House's Chief twice. And they treed coons, but they couldn't bark straight up the tree. And I couldn't hunt them, with the people I hunted with. So I bred her to Old Frosty. If you ever hunted with him, he was a calm old tree dog. And he was also Hirschberger bred. And got just as fired up a dog out of Frosty. And they was really probably a little worse than Chief dogs were. And so I took her out Kansas and bred her to Finley River Bark. I hunted with him one time somewhere up north here and seen him sitting down, and then I seen a pup out of him sitting down somewhere, So I took him to Kansas, and Duke Rupert had him at that time, and I bred the buck, and I got calm, sit down tree dogs. And so I went with that with Queen 2. Queen 2, she was a nice little female, but would choke down on the tree. And I couldn't stand that. So the horny dogs were sticking their head up out of Boone Creek Mike and Golden Star. And Cadillac and all of them they were sticking their head up as loud, hard tree dogs. And I bred Queen 2 to the horny's Jeff dog. And got Queen 3, which she's as nice as any of the queens I ever had. And she had a ringing mouth, you know what I was trying to get. Queen 3, I bred her to Skuna River Banjo and got a nice jip, but she had a tree jumping habit. And I couldn't stand that, and I ate too much. And so I also bred Queen 3 to Handsome, which was a sit-down back there tree dog, and got Favorite. And so then I bred Favorite to Queen 4, half brothers and sisters, to get Queen 5. Queen 5, I had one that I really liked, and I run over, letting her run in front of the truck, and I run over. So I had to go back and get her sister that had never been hunted, and it was Queen 5, and which was the sorriest queen there was. She tree coons, but she wasn't nothing outstanding. But she reproduced better than any of them, I'd say. She did Homer, Gomer, and Locket, and just name you a bunch of them. And I bred Queen 5 to 3 different male dogs. 4 different male dogs. I bred her to House's Lipper, Hillbilly Mac, Tree Talking Crockett, and to Skuna River Lipper 5 times. And House's Lipper was the sorriest cross I made on her, because they loved a coyote, and they took them about 2-year-old to be solid on that tree. They just could really run a coon, had big miles and stuff. And then I bred Queen 6 to Skuna River Lipper, and as a half brother and sister cross, and got Queen 7. I bred Queen 7 to a pup out of Locket and Tree Talking Crockett, a little, no, I believe you call him Tree Talking Rocket, and got 8, which was as good as any of the queens, and she come here that way. You didn't have to train her. She was probably as natural as any dog I ever had. And on top of that, well, she was Bark's mother by Skuna River Lipper again, and and we got 9, which was 9 was a full sister to Bark. And I went out with her. I had been 2 or 3 half brothers and sisters, and I decided to go out. And I went out to a Sackett dog and got a nice jip. Everybody liked her, but she treated too much. She would get on a bad track, which she'd do you wrong. I bred her to Bark 3 times, and they did all right, but they weren't what they should have been. And but the one I kept out of the bunch was one I called Cricket Queen 11. And Queen 11 was a really good reproducer. She was a sorry mama, but she was really a good reproducer. She did several dogs. She did Moonshine dog. Several people had nice pups out over around.
Heck, that family tree pretty much goes straight up anyway. No, it don't branch out too much. Huh?
It's just I did about 3 half brother and sister crosses there, and as I said, the Queen 3, 2 pups out of her, was half brother and sister. Then we get to Queen 5, which she wasn't the greatest coon dog that ever lived, but she, mine exaggerating a little bit on Queen 5 crosses. I did it 4 times, and I mentioned the House of Lipper was the sorriest cross, and Locket was our Tree Talking Crockett. I bred her to Skuna River Lipper, and her litter, won me Breeder of the Year and second place Sire of the Year, didn't it?
Her puppies won $94,000, I believe it was. I got it right here.
Let me ask you this: why did Locket not end up being a queen dog?
Well, number one, I'd already had a queen out of House's Lipper that I'd worried my life away with about 2 years there, and she was a nice hound when I got through with her, but I didn't want to back up and go. I believe it'd be easier if you go in generation after generation. I think in family and them up close, it'd be easier with a male dog,
Yeah.
Yeah, Locket's in the Hall of Fame. She's on the top producer, and I've got the money one here if I can find it. I forget how much. I got so many of Mr. Wimp's pedigrees on here.
They Well, there's one thing you can say about Locket. She was a tree dog.
Absolutely.
I never carried people hunting with her and the old Pac-Man pack dog and Lipper. Say, boy, any one of them, I'd breed her too. If somebody just come on to be a hunting, or I hunted around here a lot then. You could turn them three loose, and they'd rattle that bottom, but they were tree dogs.
I got it right here. Aron Skuna River Locket had 43 puppies, and they won $85,202.
Cool. That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
And she was out of Queen 5C. The Jip that I told you wasn't the best dog in the world.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
And Crockett's.
And Crockett, treats on Crockett. I'll tell you about Crockett now. And I don't know, he may not agree with me. If Travis and Richard had hauled him a wild puppies around to ever hunt, they came around and Travis had a crate as long as his pickup, and he'd slide it out and put them puppies in it. You go up this end and knock that end out. You go up that end and knock that end out. And you couldn't hardly give a Crockett puppy right away. But I bred her to him, and I bred Queen 6 to him. And man, I had really nice puppies out of both of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And old Cracker come out of him, and
they'd have been a lot of. But you take when people see that
sure
hunch, and they make every little hunt we had with Travis would, and have them a wild puppies there. And
a lot of times you know more than I know. Well, if you don't handle them when they're babies, that's what you get. Yeah. And then if you showcase that.
Only time it's ever loaded or doing anything when they put them in there and slam them in there like, oh.
Well, the night Richard bought Crockett, I never will forget it, over there at Mr. Buddy's place where the lake was and everything he could hunt. That guy that writes books in Mississippi, anyhow, he owned that now.
John Grisham?
He owns it now. But we was over there, me and Richard, and he got old Crockett. And we turn him loose. Hey, he hits him a deer. He takes it out of that bottom. And, I mean, he's smoking it. Richard said, let's go cook us a steak. And it was $5,000 is what David Drain and Eddie wanted for him. He runs a deer. We sat there and cook a steak and listen to him run that deer. And he's gone. We get up the next morning, me and Richard, I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of money. That dude is gone running that deer. We get up the next morning, cook breakfast, and look there at the door. Old Crockett's piled up on a pad right there at the door. Richard said, I believe I'm going to buy him. I said, what'd you see that brought you to this decision? He said, Ed, I know he's a better dog than that, and I just kind of like him. And that was the night we hunted him, and Richard paid for him.
Well, I tell you, the little Rocket dog, did you ever hunt him?
Oh, yeah, that was Hunter's dog. Yeah, I hunted with him. Yeah.
He
tree dog.
Pretty nice little dog.
Pretty nice little dog.
Had a good mouth.
Absolute, steady as a rock tree dog.
And see, that was a daddy of Queen 8.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and Queen 8 is a nice female that I ever had. She come here.
Sure.
I didn't have to train her. In fact, Spencer, her mother wasn't all that old when I bred her, and you put them in there and jump something hot, and I'd listen for Queen 8 instead of her mama, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I had more confidence in the pup than I did the old dog, because she was Bark had her habits with Lipper's RPMs. That's kind of thing about it.
Well, you got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question. Like, did you hunt with old Lipper before you bred to him?
House's Lipper?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You hunted with him?
I hunted with him.
He had a powerful mouth.
He had a powerful mouth, balled on the tree, regardless of what they said he did when I hunted with him. They said he was always hot or out of shape or something was what the excuse was, but he balled on the tree a lot. But could push a track. He could push a track and had a lot of energy, Yeah. And I didn't see anything mean that, Eddie.
Sure. It amazed me that you hunted with House's Chief. That was awesome. Hunted with House's Chief.
Probably more than I did Lipper. But I bred to him twice, and when I go up there, we'd go hunting. And Mike brought Lipper and his banjo dogs all down here, and we hunted them down here. I tell you, Lipper was head and shoulders above the banjo dogs.
Was he?
For this country. Now, I think the banjo dogs were trailing dogs and tree jumping dogs. I didn't see Max do that, but everything I seen that had Finley River banjo, and one of my $1,000 pups was a pup out of full brother of Finley River banjo. But when banjo was 10-year-old, his mama had one male pup, and I gave $1,000 for it because banjo was the #1 stud dog at that time. Mm-hmm. And I had to hunt it 4.5 years to get my money back. If somebody gave him to him, I'd have shot him. But he was a pretty nice little dog, but jumping this thing, I ever saying. And by the way, he's Moose's granddaddy, so.
Isn't that something?
So you ever have a dog out of Moose?
No, sir.
You ever see him? You ever hunt with him?
No, sir. I didn't get to hunt with him.
Right.
I hunted with Zeb and those.
Yeah. He had to jump in.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
How old was Lipper when you hunted with him?
Don't know. He was older, you know.
Okay.
He wasn't no spring chicken, but I mean, he wasn't. I bred to him 3 times. Wanted you a dog that lived to be 15-year-old, be tough and had a good nose and a good mouth and all that stuff. Well, he'd do that.
I know I've heard other people say he was just a freak as far as the go ability. Like his just, you know.
Oh, he was wound up.
Just, I mean, way ahead of his time almost when it comes to that.
The Skuna River Lipper dog I had, he was that way.
He was like that too.
I'll assure you, you couldn't build a big enough fire to drop the coon on the other side, and he would have went through that fire.
That's awesome.
He didn't. He had no return.
Well, when you made that cross and got Skuna River Lipper, how did you pick him to be the male you was going to keep?
Well, the Dixie Gyp, she was family bred on the other females I had. It had, you know, there. Anyway, some banjo blood thrown in on Alabama George. Anyway, he was out of banjo too, I think. And he was down here, my Gyp was in heat. Just a lot of, you know, things made it convenient. And I like Lipper. I don't really like a ball mouth tree dog. I say I don't know that Gyp we had. I liked her, but I didn't. Just occasionally you do. And they all say he didn't do that when he's in shape, and I can understand that. But he did ball a lot on the tree. You know. But now he was as wired up. He was as wired up as you can get. I like that Skuna River Lipper back in the Coon and Log days. I'll guarantee you he would have been good on that. You're not recording all this BS, are you?
Yeah. If you could keep Pete from, like when we hit the table, it'll make that mic mess up.
Oh, okay.
Like and it won't record right.
Okay.
That's one thing we gotta be mindful of. We want it to be good audio.
We were to
we were talking Queen 11. I think what we was up to.
Queen 11. Queen 11, I bred her to Backwater Zeb, and I bred her and got Moonshine and them, and I bred her to Rudy, which was a double Skuna River Lipper dog, and out of Skuna River Lipper. And Buddy Mobley had, and got Queen 12. Queen 12, she was only bred to one dog. Lipper's repeat. She was bred to him 5 times, I believe. And I think it was probably the best cross on both of them, on him and her. They were several grands, some real nice dogs. I had one of them I called 13, Queen 13. She was a real nice little Gyp, high-powered, a lot of go, a real little tree dog. But she got run over when she was about 4-year-old, so I didn't get to enjoy her too long. But I had bred her to Gunner of the Rogers boys, and Gunner, he was out of Bark, and got a little Gyp I call 14. 14 is, I liked her probably as well as any I've had in a while. She had a lot of specialties. She would strike my truck. If you'd shoot a coon out, she'd bring it to you. You know, she would, really a hunting dog, find your coon when they're scarce. And a nicer tree dog. She put her feet there. Didn't move unless something moved her. And I bred 14, 2 Moonshine, which was out of Queen 11, and got several pretty nice dogs. But I wound up with my 15 was out of that cross, and I bred her to Mark's reject dog, and we got 3 or 4 of them around here. One of them will probably wind up being 16.
Okay.
Or 16th generation.
That's awesome. That really is. So, what is the most important trait that you've tried to maintain throughout that 16 generations?
Well, number one, something to tree coons. You know, if it don't tree coons, I have no use none whatsoever for them. But I like a cold-nosed dog. I like a winding dog. And I like a hunting dog. Cause I don't hunt where they just coons run over themselves most of the time. And in later years, I've really tried to breed brains in them. You know, it make them easier to train. I've had a few that, you know, was really smart, and I find out me and them get along better.
What's the most common bad trait that you've seen arise from line breeding?
The only thing about line breeding is, or family breeding, what you want to call it, if you don't like what you got, you're not going to up much, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And something else about family breeding and hunting generation after generation, you see things that Grandma done that you corrected this way, or you seen things that Grandma done that she always done you couldn't put up with hardly. But you're not gonna move up, but you outcross where you liable to get a super dog and 5 that don't do anything, you know. And something else. See, I hunt what I raise. I hadn't hunted a bought dog in some bunch of years, you know. I bought 1 or 2, but I've never hunted them, you know.
You were talking about you hunt what you own, right? How did you choose the stud to carry on your generations? You know what I'm saying? How did you choose House's Lipper or Crockett?
When I was out, like with House's Lipper or, you know, them dogs, I was looking for a certain thing, you know, and Lipper, I was looking for RPMs, you know, hunting and ability to get that track. And used to, in early days, you look for treeing. Because a lot of your early walker dogs didn't tree, you know. I mean, not right, but in the last so many generations, I hadn't hunted a dog that didn't tree.
So, you've obviously, I mean, you've got, 47, you started breeding dogs pretty much? A little bit after that?
47. 47, I didn't have much to breed. And you can tell by the amount of coons I caught. And, but along in the, you might say 60.
60s, okay, 60.
When I really got interested in.
So, and you've obviously, that's what, 56, 60 years of breeding experience?
Well, yeah. I've scuffled with about the same old hounds for that long, you know.
So, that's crazy.
People ask me about other dogs, and I tell them I really don't know, you know.
Yeah.
I hunt around here with boys that's got this old stuff, and I really don't know about other dogs. I might, if I hunt with somebody else, I might change. But we you know, pretty well satisfied with them. They all got faults, every one I've ever had. So I tell them, if you've done it for this long and haven't had a perfect dog, you probably should quit. You know. Yeah.
Kind of give me a rundown on your breeding philosophy of what works and what hadn't worked throughout the years. Do you think?
Well, if a dog reproduced his like, it would be so simple. And you read ads, and that's a favorite passage. Is my dog reproduces like, and maybe they've seen something that I hadn't seen, but I've yet to see a dog that reproduces like. But just in Skuna River Lipper and Bark, Skuna River Lipper had to have Queen 5 or her daughters to reproduce well. With the exception of maybe a Raccoon Valley Queen, them dogs, he did pretty good on them. And Bark would kind of get you some of us about the same out or in, you know. So, and he was in another time or two than Lipper was, you know. So
they always say, you know, you line breed to get your consistency, and then you outcross to get your outstanding performers. Is that true in your sense? Have you seen that?
I really hadn't been out enough. The times I went out, I find it. Well, Queen William for one. I went out on her, and she has some good traits, but she just didn't track her. She just didn't love that track enough. You know, she stopped and tree when she should be tracking. And she had 70 pups, boy.
10. That's Queen 10.
Yeah, Queen 10. I'm sorry, Queen 10. Yeah. She had 70 pups. She should have had a coon dog under every tree. And some of them were. Some of them was all right, but nothing like they should have been. And that's what I find when you outcross, it takes you a generation or two to get back where you were.
Okay.
That's my opinion of it now.
Y'all got anything to ask yet?
No, I'm looking.
See Mr. Eddie looking.
Dog it off just a second.
Right.
What I'm trying to find is Mr. Wimp's in the Hall of Fame and the breeder list. His puppies. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Winston Aron, the top 50 breeders. He has 715 pups on the ground, and they won $238,451. However you want to say that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's 7 on the all-time breeders list, top 50 breeders list with his pups.
Over, 750 puppies?
715 pups, has won over $238,000.
That's awesome.
And I don't think Mr. Wimp said he's ever hunted in PKC hunts.
No, never hunted.
He's a breeder. Mr. Wimp is in the Hall of Fame. He's a legend in our sport, and he's one of those legends that the competition part of it wasn't what he was searching for. He wanted to produce dogs for himself, and if anybody else liked what he had produced, he offered it to them. But I mean, just like Bart, his Bart dog, his Skuna River Lipper dog, man, them dudes are producers. I had the opportunity to hunt with Homer's Gomer. Mr. Wimp can tell you all about his breeding. That dude was a red alert also. Mr. Wimp has produced some serious dogs.
Now that Locket reproduced a little pickle seal, too.
Won the national championship.
Yeah.
Mr. Terry Walker of the American Cooner owned Pickles.
Yeah, she got her picture in the back of me a bunch of times.
Yes, sir. She won the nationals.
So that's awesome. It really is. And Mr. Eddie brought up a great point about you weren't this big time competition hunter. Really, you did competition hunt in UKC a lot. You know.
No, I competition in UKC or some. You know.
Yeah.
But then my goal was to win the ACHA World Championship, which I never got close.
How
much
influence did competition hunting have on your breeding, though? And what type of dog you bred for?
Well, probably early days. Early days, it probably had more because I didn't have the opportunity to really know about all the dogs and stuff. I didn't have the opportunity to know about, you know, all I knew is what I read and seen. And competition probably had more influence on it in the early days than it has in the later days, definitely.
But, you know, that just goes to show Mr. Wimp, he was breeding, what did he say? The first thing was dogs that trees coons.
Yeah.
Dogs that goes hunting. Dogs that's got intelligence of what wins competition hunts. A dog that trees coons, a dog that goes hunting, and a dog that's got intelligence.
So to all the coon hunters that are out here today, what's the best advice that you can give someone that's looking to start breeding dogs and to breed to hunt?
Well, of course, if he's starting from scratch, well, you know, try to have a good female and go from there as female. But just because you got a great individual, don't mean you're gonna have great puppies. You know, it's we all like that, but it's not true. You know, find a family of dogs that he likes, hunt with them if he can. You know, and today you can hunt with dogs you like if you want to go out. But back in the early days, you know, didn't have opportunity to hunt with them except just in the big hunts.
What is, if somebody said the best coon dog that Winston Aron ever had, the one you would pick, what dog would that be, Mr. Wimp?
Eddie, they're just too many. Queen 1, Queen 3, 7 and 8, 11, 13, 14, and a little 15 Jeep. I like her a lot.
All right, let me ask you a question. If Bark and your Skuna River Lipper was here and you was going to make another cross today, would you throw them right back in the mix of things?
Oh, yeah. I like Bark a lot better than I did Lipper for just a hunt. But Lipper, he put, if you need some RPMs and tree dog, well, you couldn't beat Lipper. But Lipper just didn't cross good on a lot of different jips. Take Naylor dogs, for instance. He was bred to 7 Naylor jips, and I'd never seen a Naylor pup out of Lipper. It was worth a crap.
Mm-hmm.
There might have been some that I didn't see, but and Bark, he get you something you can kind of put up with on about any of them.
And you was talking about breeding for intelligence. Me and Mark and Tyler was talking way up here about Bark. Mark told me about some cast he won with him because he was able to call him in.
Yeah.
And Mark was kind of talking. He didn't know the answer, and I sure don't. Is that just because they're line bred like that, they're intelligent, or help me here?
Well, I think some of both. I think they're intelligent and they're started around dogs at mine. And I think that's a big influence on them because if you ever notice dog pick up a bad habit in one night and he won't pick a good one up in a week, you know. So I think that's a big thing, you know, the influence on the other dogs around them. And I got a dog out there in the pen, don't know nothing. But you turn her out, she get in the truck. You turn her out of the truck, she get in the pen. You tell her to come on, she come on, you know. And it didn't take no time, and she just run loose. And it didn't take no time. In a week's time, I had her doing that, you know.
So, can you tell me about a hunt that you had with Skuna River Lipper? Do you have a memorable hunt you had with him? And well, first, talk about Skuna River Lipper, and how you come about owning a male, and
he come along at the time Queen 5 was in her day, and that's what really what made Skuna River Lipper. Take Homer's going Q, and I can just name them all day out of that cross. I bred to it 5 times, and that him, and then I also bred Queen 5 to Hillbilly Mac, and I bred Lipper to them gyps, and I bred Queen 5 to Hillbilly Mac, House's Lipper, Tree Talking Crockett, and then see a pup off of her Queen 5 and Tree Talking Crockett. Locket is the one won me I believe that cross won me. Pups won me Breed of the Year and second place Sire of the Year, and Lipper and Queen 5 and her daughters is what carried Lipper, but Bark was the best male hound I ever owned. You know, he
so. And what is this Skuna River Sir Winston Rowdy?
That's going to be our buddy up in Tennessee, Jimmy Roller. That's Jimmy Weaver. Jimmy Weaver.
I seen it on the door right there.
He got several pups from me along.
Okay.
And Jimmy, he brags on.
Did you ever hunt with Hillbilly Mac?
Hillbilly Mac, yeah. I hunted with him one time after a hunt when Leonard Pointer was hunting. He was going to the hunts and hunting Hillbilly Mac, and after the hunts he'd show him to you or anything. And there's a gentleman there with a black and tan, and I won't call his name. And they decided to take them 2 hunting when they turned the black and tan loose. He went in deep, opened a time or 2, and come back to us around there and. He treed is a den tree. We'd walk down a woods road, took the black and tan, put him back in the truck, turned Hillbilly Mac loose right in there. He treed 2 coons.
When Bark come into this world, how old was he when you knew he was going to be special? And what let you know this pup is going to be it?
Well, he was. The litter died with parvo all but him, and he was a little runny puppy running around here. And barked all the time. You put him in the pen, he barked. You put him out of the pen, he'd find something to bark at. And everybody got to call him that barking pup, you know. And that's the way he got his name. He earned it. And then just from a little old pup up, you could find a cat. He'd be off out there with a cat treat or something. You know, he's something all the time. He was doing something if he was out. And then he broke his leg back leg when he was about 5 months old. So I put him in the pen and left him in there a month. And his leg got all right. He made Grand Bench champion after he broke his leg. So
wow.
When I got him out, well, he was just wild and ready to do anything. But he never was trashy. He didn't care about fast game at all. Never did care about fast game. He did armadillos just a little. That's the only thing I had to break him from. And he had that good mouth. He had that good mouth that make him sound like he's doing about twice as much as he was, you know.
From the first time he ever treed, did he tree that way to the day he died?
He pretty much, you know, he wasn't solid just as a rock, you know, then, but pretty much 30 days hunting, he come right on. He wasn't never no trouble. But now I was hunting him with 2 females. It was as good as I ever had, you know, his mom and his grandmother. And they was as good as I ever had. And me and Bradley in the Delta National Forest caught 14 coons first night and 15 coons the second night with Bart and his mother and his grandmother, and which was 2 best nights hunting I ever had, you know, in a row. Lipper was a lot harder dog to handle. He was than Bart was. Bart could handle as good as anybody.
And now the dogs that you're talking about, you're hunting today. Let's talk about repeat, reject, all them. How much different are they from the dogs that you were hunting back? Queen 2 or 3, you know? I mean, what's the difference there?
Well, they were just more rounded. Repeat, he wasn't never a trained hound. You know what I'm talking about? I bought him and he wasn't trained, and we bred him instead of hunted him, you know. And but Repeat was as pretty a natural tree dog as you'll ever see, and he'd hold his tree as good as any dog you ever see. I've seen him, and they'll boy right out there and vouch for it. I've seen him tree a coon, a split tree, no further than from here to them cars out there. We shoot this coon out, and he'd never look at you. And